All right, guys. So yesterday we worked with two-way frequency tables and we took some notes on the first page. Today we're going to continue those notes on page 2 that you should have already printed. If you don't have a printer, that's fine. You can just go ahead and write these notes in your notebook. But this part of the note is going to be talking about creating a two-way frequency table. So we're going to be provided data in this example, and we have to create the table. So first it says 20 freshmen. So given the table, I'm going to look at the freshman column and go to the total and put 20. And 20 sophomores. So again, I went to the table, went to the column for sophomores, went to the row for the total, and filled in 20. Were surveyed about their pets. 13 sophomores said they had dogs. So I went to sophomores column, went to the dogs row, and filled in 13. And then out of the 20 freshmen, so out of the 20 freshmen, 9 had cats. So freshman column, cats row, I'm going to fill in the number 9. Now we have to fill out the two-way frequency table and then answer the questions. So they didn't give us all the information, but based on what we know, we can definitely figure out the empty boxes. So we need to fill in these 5 empty boxes before we can start answering the questions below. So if I know that a total of 20 students or freshmen were surveyed and 9 students liked cats, then that means 11 students liked dogs because 11 plus 9 is equal to 20. Then I need to look at the sophomores. Okay, 13 of the 20 sophomores liked dogs, so that means 7 sophomores liked cats. Now that we have all of our columns filled out, now we can start adding up the totals in our rows. 11 plus 13 is going to give me 24. 9 plus 7 is equal to 16. And then we have our total. Well, here we need to make sure we did our math correct. 20 plus 20 is 40. Does 24 plus 16 equal 40? Yes. So that means the total number of students surveyed was 40. Now that our two-way frequency table is completely filled out, now we can go ahead and get started with answering the questions. So it says, how many 10th graders have cats? Well, I'm going to go to the 10th graders, which in this case is sophomores. In case you don't know, since you haven't been there yet, 10th graders are sophomores, 9th graders are freshmen. Okay, so how many 10th graders have cats? Well, 10th graders, cats, that's 7. How many students own dogs? Well, let's look at the students, the total number of students that like dogs. Okay, that's going to be this number right here, because it didn't ask for freshmen or sophomores specifically, it asked for the total number of students, and that number is 24. How many freshmen own dogs? So now, because we are asking specifically for freshmen, we want to know how many of them own dogs, and freshman that owns dogs is 11. Okay. What percentage of students own cats? So we want to know what percentage of students own cats. So I'm going to look at the total number of cats, and that's 16. So I need to do 16 over 40 Well, 16 over 40 is going to be equal to 27.5%, I believe. I will double check that on my calculator. But all I have to do is 16 divided by 40. Oops. And that is definitely not 27.5%. I am remembering the answer to another question. I'm so sorry. 16 over 40 is equal to 40%. Had I done it the correct way and just done the long division, I would have noticed that. I shouldn't be taking shortcuts. So what percentage of students surveyed were in 9th grade? Okay, again, we're looking for a percentage. And now we want to know what percentage of the students were in 9th grade. Well, 9th grade is right here. That's my freshman. Okay. So that is going to be 20 over 40, which 20 over 40, that's really easy to figure out. That is 50%. Okay. What is the relative frequency of 9th grade dog owners? Okay, when we're talking about relative frequency, we're talking about the total number of times an item occurs. So what is the relative frequency of 9th grade dog owners? 9th grade, just to make sure you can see it, 9th grade is this column, dog owners is this row right here. And because we're talking about a relative frequency, we are going to compare it to this total number of students surveyed. So that's going to be 11 out of 40. 11 out of 40. And it can be left just as that, because remember, a relative frequency can be listed as a fraction, a decimal, or a percentage. 11 out of 40 is also the same thing as 0.275 or 27.5%. There's that 27.5% I tried to use earlier. Shame on me. All right. So all of these are the relative frequency. All of these are possible answers. It just depends on which one is listed for you as a fraction, decimal, or percentage. Now, out of the sophomores, what is the relative frequency of owning a cat? Okay, this one's a little different because it's asking out of the sophomores. So we're not going to compare it to the total. We're going to compare it to the total number of sophomores, not the total number of students. Okay, I'm going to zoom out a little bit more so we can see it all at once. So out of the sophomores, okay, so we're looking in this column, out of the sophomores, what is the relative frequency of owning a cat? Okay, so we're going to look at our cats, and that's 7, and it's 7 out of 20. Okay, so 7 out of 20, but we can also write 7 out of 20. We don't have to leave it as a fraction. It can be written as a decimal, which is going to be equal to 0.35, which is also equal to 35%. All three of those are correct relative frequencies for owning a cat out of the sophomores. Okay, so you have to be careful if they're asking for a specific group or just the total number surveyed. So is there an association between grade levels and pet choices? Well, if you look at the data here in this two-way frequency table, there is definitely not an association. Okay, there is no link or cause for a student or a specific grade of student. So we're going to put no. There's no trends. There's no association. There's no causation. Okay, which pet choice is most popular? So now it's asking us to compare out of these two pet choices, which one is most popular? Well, clearly a dog is more popular because there's 24 compared to 16. So dogs are more popular. And then finally, is this statement always true? A 10th grader is more likely to own a dog. Well, we can look at the data, and yes, 10th graders have a tendency to own more dogs than cats. However, it is not more likely. That is not something that is causing it. So no, not necessarily. You have to be careful just because data is displayed in a certain way and it shows it in this particular group, unless it's something that can be consistently found across the board, there's not going to be a link or it's not going to happen more likely. So that is the end of our notes for page 2 of our two-way frequency table. After you finish these notes and answer the few questions that came from the notes, you're going to be responsible for finishing the practice problems that are listed below. Okay? Thanks. Let me know if you have any questions. You can find me in the meeting.